Welcome to Your Ultimate Life podcast, where we help you break free from mediocrity and create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Get your free video series at yourultimatelife.ca.
Words of death, words of life. I hope you're watching this video. I say that often, but I really do this time. This picture in the background is a AI picture, and I use a lot of those, as I mentioned before. The prompt for this one is the creation of the universe, God creating the universe. And I said something about the painting style of Michelangelo, thinking of the beautiful picture on the Sistine Chapel. So anyway, there's a being, a figure representing the divine, and hands and creating planets and stars and things. I did that because I'm focusing in this episode on words. What are words? What are they? They're this amazing, unbelievable gift of language that we have. Can you imagine if we had no words and we were communicating only with pointing and gestures? How difficult that would be. Now, there's games, right? We do it with Pictionary, where we draw pictures, and other password games where we try to get people to guess words by acting them out. And sometimes you make funny noises, and sometimes you can only mime. It just depends on the rules and so forth. It's really difficult. Really, really difficult to do it fast. And certainly, okay, it's fun to guess a single word or a short phrase, 2 or 3 words. But can you imagine trying to communicate? Can you imagine trying to teach someone arithmetic or calculus or chemistry or how to sell in real estate or how to overcome a bad habit or how to tie your shoe? I guess you just demonstrate it. And everything would be reduced to simple example. You see a thing and you try to do it. And, maybe there's some waving if, you're making a mistake or creating something bad. There's a television show series called Blown Away. And there's someone in our house that really enjoys those. And it's about blowing glass. And it's really fascinating. And it reminds me also of creating pottery. Now, if you've ever seen a potter sit at a pottery wheel, the wheel spins and you have a lump of clay on it, right? And the hands, you get your hands all wet and the clay is malleable. But because the pottery wheel is spinning so fast, if you get the glob of clay imbalanced at all, the spinning causes it to fly all over the place, and whatever you're creating crumbles into, just crumbles right away. And this creation of glass, as I watch, it's not spinning, but it's molten, and they blow it or they move it and turn the rod that the glass blob is on and so forth. It's just amazing to watch the act of creation. Now, can you imagine trying to teach such a thing with no words, with no ability to explain anything, but only the ability to use your hands and demonstrate? It could certainly be done, but it would be more difficult. Now, physical things outside of us are easy to demonstrate. You can watch it and then you can do it. But abstract concepts, what if you tried to explain love or anything, diligence or honor, or, it'd take a lot of demonstration to really get the concept taught. Anyway, so we're not going to talk about how complex life would be without language, except just for illustration. So words are a divine gift. Language is a divine gift that was given to us. And we have many languages, and whether or not you go for the thing about languages being confused at the Tower of Babel or not, whatever, we ended up with a boatload of languages that all express the same ideas beautifully and powerfully. And, I guess I've spoken pretty fluently 3 languages in my life: English, Dutch, and Spanish, and learned a little bit of some others. But what I know is every language, it feels like there are words that when you try to translate them in other languages, they don't translate very well. Like there isn't a phrase or a word that captures the true essence of a word in another language. Well, how interesting is that? So words are representations of ideas. They're our ability to explain or instruct or lead or guide or express or emote beautiful poetry. The words in a beautiful poem or the lyrics of a powerful song. Oh, they can just melt your heart or enrage you or move you to action. All of those things are possible. Maybe these. Think about, with Rocky themes, Eye of the Tiger, and, other hundreds or thousands of other songs that really move us to action. So words are powerful. That's the first thing I want to get across. And I titled this episode Words of Death and Words of Life because, the phrase, the pen is mightier than the sword, is a true and accurate representation of the power of words. The pen, meaning our ability to write and express ideas, is more powerful than a sword and presumably any other instrument of enforcement. And that might seem counterintuitive at first, but if you think back through history, you'll see that it is actually true. Because when things are forced on a person or a group of people, there is underlying rebellion, there is underlying negativity, there's all kinds of other stuff that eventually explodes and overtakes. That's where revolutions come from, rebellions come from, small as being in a family and a child or teenager rebelling against parents, or spouses, getting angry and ending relationships, or countries going to war over ideas and thoughts. And truly, the pen is actually far mightier than the sword. So the point of today isn't to talk about that idea. There's thousands of examples, but it's to get you to think about your words. What are your words of creation? Because your words create death and your words create life. Now, that doesn't mean that every word I speak, in the picture here, God's creating the universe and spoke, let there be light. And there was light. Now, how that happened, we have no idea. Sometimes I think, some people say, well, that's just mythological anyway, so they just say, let there be light, because they have no clue what else to say. I have another thought about that. What if the processes that are instigated or created when the divine speaks and says, let there be light, are so complex, so unbelievable, so far over our pay grade in terms of trying to explain them, that let there be light is as good as it gets. Kind of like trying to teach calculus to an ant. If you try to teach calculus to an ant, or I did, it's hopeless. And no matter how well I explain it, the ant is not going to be able to solve a calculus problem, calculating the area under a curve or anything like that. Well, what if the divine attempting to explain the mechanics and the physics and in the both spiritual and physical realm of creating light or allowing suns to coalesce? I mean, we have vague ideas of them sort of doing this somehow on their own after the Big Bang. And, the spoken word, let there be light, causing those actions to appear. Frankly, the idea that it's so complex that let there be light is as good as it gets makes a lot more sense than all the cosmology books I've ever read. And I've read many, many, many. I've been fascinated with that forever. So let's get right to your life, because this is about you creating a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, a life where you love every minute, every day, and you're on fire with your purpose, and you create the prosperity and the cash and the joy you want to have. My thesis here, and what I'm saying is your words can create it or destroy it. You are the sole architect, just like the picture of the divine. You are the sole architect of your life. Now, before you freak out and say it all depends on what everybody else does, it doesn't. And I've said that practically every episode. You architect your life. So we've dug into what are words. Words are our attempt to express our thoughts and emotions. Well, when you think or feel a certain thing, it motivates you or me to action. If we feel endangered, we run. If we feel inspired, we write or we speak. Or if we feel hungry, we go and we create some food and we find it and we eat it and we solve that problem. So the base layer is these thoughts that we have, and we express them sometimes out loud, sometimes internally. Sometimes the patterns are so connected that we sort of skip the thought part and go right to action. So if your stomach growls, you may or may not think, I am hungry, and you probably won't say it out loud, but you might. But it moves you to some kind of action. And that is very simple. It's obvious. Well, duh, when I'm hungry, I go do something about it. What if creating life is exactly the same? It's within your purview. Just like ending your hunger. Just don't argue for a minute. Just set this aside. Set your arguments aside and just go with me here. What if creating your life is just like that? The thoughts that you have, the feelings that you have, are then translated into actions that create energy, and actions that create what you feel, think, and speak, either silently or out loud. Let me give you some evidence that that is true. First of all, I know that you've experienced this. You've been in a room, maybe alone or maybe with others, and someone comes in the room. You don't see them, you don't hear them, but suddenly you detect an energy shift. You feel, something negative, angry, frustrated. Some negative energy has entered the room, and it's so striking that you turn around and look, and you see somebody over there, and you can tell from their stance, from their energy, maybe from their face, or maybe something else, that they're not happy. You know that happens. I was at church today, and I was looking at someone that was in the congregation, and I don't know them very well, but I was just looking around because I sit up front. And the reason I sit up front is I'm the organist, and I play the organ for the music for the service. And so I sit up front all the time, and I get, the opportunity to look around and see all the people in the congregation. And I noticed this one person sitting, and they were a little bit hunched over, and they were playing with their hands. And it isn't even so much the activities as the energy. I could tell from the position of the body and so forth that they were a bit withdrawn, and there was something concerning going on. Now, that doesn't make me magic. You can tell that too. Well, that energy that we put into the universe, that we put into the conscious unified field, that we put into space around us, that energy has an impact. I want you to think again of a conversation you're going to have. If someone comes in your office and the energy they bring with them is victorious, they're excited, they're smiling, and they're looking up, you have a reaction. Your reaction is, wow, tell me what's going on. It's exciting. And then the interaction goes up from there. If someone comes in your office or your room or wherever you are, and the energy is the opposite, frustrated, negative, before a word is said, a space, an expectation is created just from that energy, and not even a word has been said. Those are obvious and easy examples about how energy creates all by itself. I'll give you another one that's more physical. I studied martial arts for many, many years, and I earned a couple of degrees, black belt degrees, first and second degree. And the particular style that I had a lot of physical, well, one of the styles, I did a couple of them, but anyway, one of them had a lot of physical demonstrations. So there were a lot of kata and a lot of sparring and some breaking things where you had to break stuff, right? Boards and bricks and that sort of thing. And the better I got, as I got, toward my second degree black belt test, I decided to do an outrageous break that no one, at least in that school, I'm sure it's not a world record, but in that school, no one had done anything at this degree. And this was 5 cinder block tops. The cinder blocks they build walls with. The tops are a couple inches thick, and I was going to put 5 of them on top of each other and break them in my break. So here's what I can tell you about attitude and thoughts. When you strike something that's that thick and that heavy and that solid, one of two things is going to happen if you strike it with full force. Absolute full force, everything you've got. You're either going to break it or it's going to break all the bones in your hand and arm and perhaps all the way up to your shoulder, depending on the strike you use. Well, the attitude, and I can tell you from having done this, and yeah, I was successful. I didn't break all the bones in my arm up to my shoulder, but it could have without any difficulty at all. I absolutely could have. And the thing 100% that made the difference were my thoughts, the creation and the visualization of them broken, of success, of moving all the way through and creating that outcome. That was the only difference. If I had thought anything else, I would have had a negative outcome. All right. That truth is emphasized in every situation where people do amazing things. Olympians, sports people, speakers, singers, performers, actors, they all visualize success. And they do it not just mildly, but wildly. Ooh, that rhymes. Not mildly, but wildly, like full on, having the full visceral experience of going over the finish line. I heard a story, and I don't know if it's true or not, about a legendary football player in the U.S. football. And he is in the Hall of Fame and set lots of records. But it was said that in the practices, every time he was a receiver, every time he caught the ball, he ran as fast and hard as he could all the way to the end zone, no matter where he was on the field. And when someone asked him about it, and he did that for days and weeks and months and years, every season. And people asked him about it, and what he said, and this was the story, was he wanted to train his mind and body so that every time he touched the ball or caught the ball, it was in the end zone. He went to the end zone all the way, no matter what. Well, so this kind of idea is how your words and your thoughts create power. And that's why I use this picture of the divine. So the divine spoke, and the universe, the worlds, the sun, the moon, the stars came into existence. We don't know by what process or how fast or what it took, but it doesn't matter. You and I are creators. We are part of the creations of the divine. You know you are, and you have felt that more or less at different times. So the idea that I hear all the time, well, it's just a thought, and we brush it off like it's not important. Or if we say negative things, it's just words, nobody's hurt. That is not true. In fact, it is a powerful and devastating untruth. Your words, your thoughts, my thoughts, create reality, just like the divine created the universe. Now, one of the ways to think about this, and you may be rebelling about that because you say, well, I'm thinking about being rich, but I'm not. It is not the superficial that matters. It is what we are thinking and feeling deep down. So if we say a bunch of affirmations, I'm going to get rich, I'm going to be successful, and underneath we're living in a sea in our stomach, in our core of uncertainty and doubt, the uncertainty and doubt is going to win every time. Because your beliefs, the depth and truth that's in your heart, that wins every time. 100%, hands down, period, no exceptions. So then the question is, okay, we can argue with that, or we can realize it's true, and then ask the important question, which is, how do I do something with that? Since that's the truth of creation, how do I use that to create your ultimate life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, a life where you love to get up every day, and you're excited, and you lean in, and you make good money, and you make a big difference? How do you do that if the bottom layer of what you have right now is a sea of doubt and fear? Well, I'm going to give you two answers, and then we'll talk more about it. Number one, there's a URL on the screen if you're watching, and that is www.yourultimatelife.ca. I invite you to go there because there are free, they don't cost any money, they cost effort and energy, but there are resources there that will help you get on your path and get moving. And if you're already on the path, move faster and more powerfully toward creating a life that you love, a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, or whatever your words are. It's attainable. And the reason I know that is because I came from not having it and not believing it to living it every single day without question or exception, and helping many others do the same until it's become my life work. You know, my goal is to help 250 million this year to understand who they really are. That's you, who you really are, a divine being with infinite power. And any person that's not living up to that or creating, it just breaks my heart. I want to help. So that's what I'm doing this for, why I've created this podcast. So you're invited to do that. The second invitation is to read the book, Living with Purpose and Power, because in that book, I've poured even more, everything I've learned in the last 16 years about how to create this stuff for yourself every day without fail on a consistent basis, and use your words, your thoughts, and your energy for power instead of for despair and for excuses. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is this layer underneath this sea of quicksand of doubt and destruction and, that kind of negative stuff that we sometimes live on. In fact, we all live on that until we get rid of it. I lived on that. I call it the quicksand, right? No matter what I said out loud, it was surface, and it was sitting on quicksand of doubt. I can't do that. It'll never work. I don't have the resources. I won't get the lucky breaks. It will never happen for me. It might work for somebody else, but I'll never make it. And 1,000 or 10,000 small variations of that same sad song. Ooh, alliterative, same sad song. Okay. Have you heard that same sad song? Maybe you're singing a chorus or two right now, that you're never going to make it, that it's too late, that it's too hard, that, you're too old or something, some other thing. Well, that's not true unless you let it be true. Because right this moment, your future is unwritten. Someone said the future is the undiscovered country. Well, that's true, which means you can create anything you want. The future is blank. The next page of your life is unwritten. So the words you use is where we're starting. And, excuse me, that was a sneeze. And even one more. All right, so here's where we start. Examine your words. Do you speak to yourself words of love? How do you talk to yourself? Are you chastising? I used to do that. Negative, angry, frustrated, blaming. Or words of apathy. Oh, well, I tried. Maybe it'll go better next time. It's not my fault. Words of anger. That's stupid. Fill in the blank. Person, situation, circumstance, government, whatever. Like, what are your words? Those are words of death. And what I mean is, you're not going to keel over and die, but your dreams are, your hopes are, your energy is, your determination is, your perseverance is, because those kind of words make us want to, guess what? Give up, shrivel up, go home, call it good, and just, end the experiment. Well, you're free to say those. Obviously, no one can make you not, but you're also free to take a different path. And the different path is, that didn't work. What can I do next? That isn't what I want. What can I change? I need to regroup and heal or restart. What can I learn from this? Some of the things that one most important thing I do every day when I start every single morning is I speak words that I have carefully crafted that make me energized and powerful, that get rid of all quicksand, that let me stand on absolute bedrock of certainty about who I am, what I'm about, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and what I intend to do today and for the rest of my life. Now, I review those every day, and I don't just review them passively. I review them powerfully. I review them until they make me weep, till they shake me to the core of my soul. Why would I do that? Because they're words of life. So the negative words are death to your dreams, death to your intuition, death to your encouragement, death to everything you're trying to do, and positive, affirming declarations of truth are creative words. They're words that lift you and bless you. They give you energy. They give you encouragement. They move you. They lift you, and they make you more capable and more powerful. So here's what I wanted to make sure we covered today, and that is listen to your words. The words you speak out loud, yes, but most importantly, the words you speak inside. Because the words you speak inside, the things you choose to believe, are the things that will come to pass in your life. If you believe negative things, you will bring to pass sadness, defeat, and negative things. Even if it's just defeat of your dreams or your intentions or your lofty and noble goals. On the other hand, if you choose words of life, words of positivity, words of creation, words of declaration, words of acknowledgement about how great you are. I mean, you're a divine being. I've got a picture. It's a representation of the divine. You came from that place. You're a perfect and beautiful, massively important creation of the divine. So am I. The biggest shift in my life has come when I chose to acknowledge that and live from that place. Because when I realize and acknowledge that, then I speak differently to myself. I speak words of love. I speak words of life, of growth, of possibility, of power. I grab the ideas that come and I cling to them and I claim them and I declare them into being. One of the declarations, as you know, I have from this year or for this year is I'm committed to reaching 250 million people. That's a lot of people. I started the year with no clue how to do it. I haven't reached it yet, but I'm going to, and I'm not going to stop until I do. I don't say it idly. The declaration for me is powerful and it lights the walls on fire every day. And so I spend my day looking for, thinking of, and executing ways to do that. This podcast, other podcasts, television shows, all those ways. And what I'm declaring is your greatness, your opportunity, your possibility, and then teaching all the things I've discovered in the 17 years I've been on this journey of growth, everything I've learned, and sharing it, and then helping people in my coaching practice to achieve those goals for themselves. Identifying their own language, your own language, helping transform it to the truth, which is your divinity, your capability, and your infinite possibility. And then adopting habits and practices that make your words always words of life, words of nurturing of your dreams, words of expansion of your possibilities, and eliminating the words of death, of destruction, of not enough, of not good enough, words of growth, words of lifting, words of blessing. I know you. I know you have the ability to do anything you want. I also know if you don't start, it'll never happen. I also know, at least for me, if I didn't get the help I needed, I never would have dug myself out of the holes I was in. Every book I've written, every song I've written, and every podcast episode is designed to help you learn, live, and love who you really are. Learn, live, and love your gifts, your talents, your greatness, your capability. Fix whatever mistakes are in the past and then let them stay there. And lean forward, lean in every day to your opportunities. Lift your heart. Lift your sights. I don't care what's failed before. Today's an empty day. Today's an empty page. Today's a new chorus of the song of your life to sing. And I can promise you, just like the sun shines every morning, I can promise you what I've written in the meditation books and Living with Purpose and Power and the stuff you can get at the website, www.yourultimatelife.ca. They're for you, and they will help you. They will change you if you let them. There is no reason you can't create anything you want. No one can keep you from success, and no one can force you to do anything. You have the ability, and I am committed to helping you in any way I can to reach and enjoy your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around, stand.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellan Fluckiger.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on